Here we go again, baby. It's time for Liquidate All Assets. It's Guru and Dibs, episode 45 on a special NBA Finals Game 3 edition. What's good, my brother?
What's up? And since it's the NBA Finals, Dibs, I got to go. And you're not going to like this. The listeners may not either. Michael Jeffrey Jordan, when he came back, shout out to 4-5.
I like it. I thought maybe you'd go AC Green, former Laker, who was a famous 45, also played in some NBA Finals, but I'm not mad at MJ and the return of MJ rocking number 45.
Yeah, I just wish I had the stat line that made him say that's the last time I'm wearing it. Maybe I'm going to look that up and have that for you tomorrow.
I love it because that was a terrible, terrible game he had when he finally shed 45 once and for all. It is Liquidate All Assets brought to you by Livermore Casino. Get in on the action in downtown Livermore on First Street, Tri-Valley's only poker destination, offering also blackjack, three-card poker, baccarat with no player collection. Enjoy their 24-hour gaming floor, full bar and restaurant with indoor and outdoor patio seating. Watch all your favorite games at Livermore Casino, open 7 days a week. Visit us, 3571 First Street today in downtown Livermore on First Street. Livermore Casino, Tri-Valley's place to play. Please play responsibly. Well, Goo, let's get right to it. Big one tonight. Let's start with the big picture, then we'll go to the small picture. Warriors at Boston, tied at a game apiece. Celtics favored by 3.5. Who wins tonight, Goo?
You know what? I think the Warriors win tonight. And this is a touch-and-go series, but you asked me a question. DJ Quick, tonight it's Golden State, and my main reason, Dibs, I appreciate it, is the fact that I believe, I'm going Dr. Phil, that they are so consumed, the Celtics, their announcers, their fan base, their coach, about the Draymond Green playing with too much aggression, suspension gate, should he have been thrown out. And with that, I'm thinking the Warriors go here, regain home court advantage, and I'm putting my money on the money line. I don't know what you have it now, but when I placed it, it was plus 135 for the Golden State Warriors. I feel Clay will have a bounce-back game. Poole will be a part, and I like the Warriors in their black uniforms tonight.
I know you like the slate uniforms.
The slate!
And I appreciate you breaking that out on Bobby Fitz earlier today on 95.7 The Game. I could see Steiny shaking his head.
Oh, he hated it.
Through my radio, I couldn't see it, but I know that he was not necessarily thrilled about it. Plus 135, I think it's a smart bet. If you do think the Warriors obviously are going to win the game, you don't need the 3.5 points.
Right.
It is a tough one for me. I actually think this is going to be one of those close games, so I would be more comfortable taking the Warriors and the 3.5. I think that the Warriors can win, but this feels like it's going to be a very close game, and a lot of it for me depends on what happens with the officiating. You know, we focus a lot on the refs and how they're going to referee Draymond. If Draymond gets into some early foul trouble, that could really set the Warriors back because – you know, if they're going to double team Steph, if they're going to get the ball out of Steph's hands, that means Draymond's going to have more of an opportunity to run the offense. But if he's in foul trouble and he's not out there, I'm a little concerned for how the Warriors can fare in that spot.
Now, that's a great point, and we know that you're a ref. You know, this is what you do. My question to you about this whole discussion about the referees, is it and Javi? I can't forget it because to me, his words – it hit me in the head like a frying pan. Is this what you call referees Pandora's box? Or is this something that's, I don't want to call it a stigma, but has this always been talked about? Because I don't remember being excited or a little nervous about how the refs are going to perform and how they're going to enforce tonight's game.
Well, we know that these things are true in the past. If a player has one technical foul that they probably won't get a second technical foul unless they really, really earn it. And if you look at that first tech that he got, it was a little bit of a soft tech for Draymond Green. So when the incident happened between he and Jaylen Brown, I think the referees accurately looked at it. Zach Zarba, by the way, was the name Steiny was looking for earlier. Zach Zarba had the call in game 2. He was the crew chief. But when you looked at the incident with Jaylen Brown, it wasn't enough to warrant a second technical. And Steve Javi, he pointed out what we all have known to be the case since the dawn of time, that certain players get officiated differently. And also, they don't want to run a guy out of a game based on something so small.
You know what? And I'll end it with this. And I went back to shout out to Cabello Elementary. But there was also always an old saying, teacher's pet. And if you brought the apple to the teacher, well, guess what? The teacher would teach you with different treatment. My question to you is, what Javi said sounds like refs are doing that. They're not enforcing the letter of the law because you're already or close to a juncture or injection. Dibs, forget the Warriors and Draymond. I just don't like that thought process.
Well, that's just the nature of the game, and that's how it goes with all sports. And think about it in terms of pro football. If somebody goes low on Tom Brady near his knees, that's an automatic 15-yard flag. If it's Drew Lock or Brock Osweiler, or if it's somebody else, you're not going to get that automatic flag. And if it's baseball and it's Barry Bonds and he looks at a pitch that's right on the outside corner, if he gives it that look, the umpire more likely is going to call it a ball than if it's, a different batter. And also think about, when the count is 3-0 in baseball and you see a pitch that, maybe isn't right down the middle, but they call it a strike. It's a borderline pitch, but because the count's 3-0, they're going to go ahead and give that to the pitcher.
That's awesome. And I said I was done with referee
Never be done.
A second ago. My last thing, this is what I hate about tonight. Let's say Dre does get 2 fouls early on. All we're going to hear in the post-game shows and tomorrow when we do what we do from 6 to 7 p.m. is, oh, was that really like the quality of the foul? Did they do that to make up because Draymond? See, that's starting to happen. And I don't know if it's social media, Dibs, but these calculators for everything are getting on my nerves.
It is partly social media, and it's also the fact that, everything gets replayed over and over and over again. And, honestly, if you look at Draymond Green in Game 2, they could have called between 10 and 15 fouls on Draymond Green.
You're right. I believe that.
They got a pretty generous whistle. And it's not to say that they cheated or that, things won't even out. But, Draymond Green plays very physically. Put the technical fouls aside. The way he plays, he puts the referees on the spot every trip down the floor based on how he plays. He defends you hard. He's going to bump you. He's going to challenge you. And, you could call a lot more fouls on him than they do. And we'll see how it goes tonight with Scott Foster blowing the whistle.
Yeah, and I told Stoney this on the show, Dibs, and I mean this. If I could talk to some young kids in CYO or even young freshmen or high school, if you want to play on the next level, everybody's not going to be Steph Curry, but watch what Draymond Green brings to the table. And the sacrifice. You can make a difference. It doesn't have to be with the ball in your hands, shooting it from 50 feet. You can do the Larry Smith stuff. He was my hero growing up, and Draymond's just taking that to another level. He's so rare, Dibs. Draymond is just refreshing, man.
Yeah, no doubt. And you even look at like Kevon Looney and the way he plays. He doesn't necessarily have a lot of plays run for him, but he gets to the right spot and he's able to, score when they need him. He's a great rebounder and a solid defender. Just a couple of notes, Goo, about this game. First, looking at Game 2, Boston had a 23.4% turnover rate outside of garbage time. The Warriors' turnover rate was only 10%. So this Game 3 tonight might come down to that very thing. And the Warriors have been a little bit careless turning the ball over in these playoffs. So what do you think about the turnover battle being one to watch early?
Well, I'll say this. It's been something that's bothered the Warriors all season long, but the first 2 games, both teams were equal. There wasn't just one team committing more than the others. They kind of evened each other out. But what concerns me about Boston is Tatum and as great as Jaylen Brown is, shout out Cal Berkeley, they got what I deem loose handles. And a lot of times I saw turnovers that was not inflicted by great Warrior defense. But if that continues, Jason Tatum had 4 in the first quarter himself, Dibs. If that's going to be something that's going to continue, then advantage Warriors, and kudos to the Warriors. And they had a couple last game. I can remember Steph trying to push the ball up, and you would have thought one of the Celtic players was Ronnie Lott, intercepted it in the air, underthrown. But turnovers are key. I just don't think Boston, who's lost 6 games at home already in these playoffs, what does that mean for tonight or moving forward? Maybe nothing. They can be had at home. And I'm wondering now, are they going to short circuit with the pressure of having home court or living up to home court advantage? So when it comes to turnovers, Dibs, I'm giving the advantage to the Warriors.
Yeah, interesting point. I think the Warriors have been reckless, and the road team tends to be a little bit fresher, a little bit better in the first of the 2 road games. Yeah. So we'll see how they come out. By the way, Boston is favored by 1.5 in that first quarter.
Oh, wow.
Your first quarter spread, Boston minus 1.5, and Boston also is favored in first to 10, first to 15, and first to 20. So if you think the Warriors are going to start strong, they're plus 104. The Warriors are in that first to 10 bet that we like so much.
This is why we love gambling. I mean, who could watch a game and know, hey, my betting ticket is predicated on the first 1 to 20. So the teams are always playing with urgency, but there is we're almost at the end of the first. Not a letdown, but I'm watching it like execute. It ain't the last 30 seconds of a game. But if I'm correct, Dibs, I'm trying to think who won last game, the first 1 to 20, because it was a close game. But
yeah, I think the Warriors were. Actually, I got to check. That might have been game 1.
Okay. You're definitely right. Game 1. Yeah, it was Warriors. I'll say this. I like Boston getting off to a good start. I think they need to. So I would go with Boston, the first team to 20. And I know Warrior fans are probably hoping I'm wrong.
Yeah, I mean, ultimately, you want to be the one leading at the end of the game, so it's not necessarily that concerning. But I think the Warriors, especially on the road, you would love to come out and get a good start. By the way, Boston led 10-5 in game 2.
Okay.
So Boston was first to 10, and just scanning here, Boston was first to 15, and Boston was also first to 20. They led 22-13, Goo, in that game.
And that's when I was nervous, like they're up 9 with the turnovers that I talked about. So I was telling Steiny this. You tell me what you think briefly here, Dibs. I went back. I love to do it, watch the game again. And when you look at the final score, I'm thinking, okay, this was the Warriors just mopping the floor with Boston. But like game 1, it was like 4 minutes left in the third. It was a 1-point game. The game was like, it was a battle. And then the Warriors took off. So I need to quit selling Boston short like they didn't show up at all. They had some action, an opportunity.
No doubt. And I think that Boston, especially the younger team, the home team, I actually would look toward Boston in those first to 10 and those first quarter wagers. But how about the third quarter, Goo? Because we know the Golden State Warriors have been big in the third quarter. Warriors, right now, it's kind of a pick 'em when you look at the third quarter. Boston is -1, which is plus 102. The Warriors +1, -134 for just the third quarter.
It's so interesting. And how can I go against what the Warriors have done? And if I wanted to hand out credit pie, would that be a wrong thing? Because I guess it starts with the coach. But this has been a staple of the Warriors, even in their heyday before the last 2 years. And you got to love it, especially when you're on the road. Whatever happens at halftime, the team makes adjustments, not just to X's and O's, but mentally. So I'm going with the Warriors. That's not a steep price, but I think this is just a staple of who they are and what they do. And they in Beantown tonight get that third quarter.
Yeah, Warriors, by the way, on the money line, the third quarter only, money line -109. So that might be the price you're looking for. Boston is -117 on just that third quarter money line.
I love it. And I'm putting my chicken on Golden State. And I'll say this, Dibs, about tonight's game. It'll be pretty telling whoever wins the third quarter, how much that'll bode well for them winning the actual game.
No doubt. It's Liquidate All Assets with Guru and Dibs, brought to you by Livermore Casino, the Tri-Valley's place to play. Game day specials Sunday 10 to 8, Monday and Thursday from 5 to 9 p.m. Get a hot dog for $2.50, chili dog just an extra buck, domestic draft beers for $2.50, imports and well cocktails only $4 at Livermore Casino, 1st Street in downtown Livermore. By the way, Boston has covered 12 of its last 14 games following a loss, and they're 5-1-1 against the spread in the last 7 against Golden State. Of course, that one loss coming back in game 2.
That's interesting, and that's pretty heavy too. And I'll say this: you would think after 2 games we would know what type of Klay Thompson we're going to get. I do honestly, and I'm standing by this statement, don't feel that if he doesn't have a 25 to 30 point outburst or game, that's all bad for the Warriors, because the Warriors showed me that they can Boston. But with that said, I need Poole, I need Klay, I need Drew, and going against that 5-1-1, man, that's a hard one, Dibs. But I just think the Warriors get this one, and that's why I'm on them tonight, and I wouldn't feel comfortable putting money down on Boston.
Well, while we're here with Klay Thompson, let's talk about some player props, some over-unders. Klay Thompson sitting at 18.5, his over-under, and the over is heavily juiced, minus 129. Do you think Klay Thompson can wake up and get to 19?
I do. And I keep going Tupac, it's us against the world. And we know how beloved Klay is at home. And Dibs, I think he puts more pressure on himself. I could be wrong, but when you're in a shooting slump, sometimes it's good to get out and get different scenery. Get on that bird, that plane, and we'll see. And I'm going to be honest with you. I think we see good Klay, and I think we could see that, early third quarter, him having 18.
Yeah, and you need 19 for that to go over. And I'm surprised that the number is so high, considering just how bad he's been through the first 2 games. And, his game 2 performance was especially a struggle. Steph Curry, by the way, over under 28.5.
This is interesting. Now, people get mad at me because I share with what's being said on the streets, but now the streets have turned into the local national television shows because that's all they talk about. But I'll say this: he's a leader in the clubhouse for MVP. That's not what we're talking about for the finals right now, just 2 games. I'm going to go under, Dibs, because I feel like Poole, Drew, and who's been okay, and Klay mainly, they need contributions. So I think Boston's focused on Curry, who can still have a great game and be impactful, but I don't think we see 28.
Yeah, the over, by the way, is slightly more favored than the under. The over, both are minus odds, so you got to lay juice both ways. It's minus 115 for the over, minus 110 for the under. So a lot of action coming in on the Steph Curry prop. I would kind of lean your way too, and that's also why I like the under on the total, 213.5. I think that Boston and Golden State are both going to try to really play a physical style game and keep this thing lower scoring. The last game was a total of 195. Wow. The game before was a total of 228. So we've seen each of the first 2 games go slightly in different ways. The over under 213.5 tonight. I think that this one's going to be about a 105, 102 kind of ball game.
I like that, and I'm going to also go under, and I'm not Kavan, but you're going to call me loony for this. I always think about the actual rims as if I'm playing, and whatever it is at TD, whatever they call it, that center where Boston plays, I feel like they got tight rims, and it's not the old Garden where I felt like if you put it up there, you might get the bounce or the roll. So I say that to say, Dibs, is I feel like scoring and points are going to be hard to come by, and hopefully not for guys named Klay or in a Warrior uniform. So I'm going to follow you, piggyback, and go under as well.
Couple more player props here. It's Liquidate All Assets, NBA Finals Game 3 edition, Guru and Dibs right here, bringing you such quality content. Jason Tatum, 27.5, over or under?
You know what? He I don't know if you know this, Dibs. And Stein was like, it's only 2 games. He has the worst field goal shooting percentage through 2 games than anybody in NBA Finals history. I know that's a short sample size. But with that, if Boston's going to get a win, he's got to perform like he did when he was outgunning Butler at home in Milwaukee, Giannis with the 46 and 48. So with that said, I'm going over because I don't feel like the Warriors are stopping him as much as he's stopping himself. And I saw his presser yesterday at practice. He says he hears it, and I think he's going to make a conscious effort to push to force it, get to the free throw line, which we see them do a bit. But now I'm talking about you're getting the benefit of all that home cooking, mama's home cooking. So I can see him going over, and I feel comfortable with that bet. What says you?
Yeah, I would go under Jason Tatum.
Wow.
Think, yeah, and I think it's playing off the theme of a lower scoring game. And I think that if Boston's going to be successful, they need Jaylen Brown to contribute. They need Marcus Smart to be a real factor in this one as well. By the way, Jaylen Brown, his over under 23.5, and Marcus Smart is sitting at 13.5.
Okay, let's talk about Smart, how great he was along with Horford the first game and just basically did nothing. I think he scored 1 point, Dibs, if I'm correct. I don't know what Smart had, but it felt like that. So let's start with him. He definitely goes over. Okay, I don't know if it's Cornbread Maxwell, Mikal Bird, but he goes over. But Jaylen Brown also. I think he wants Shoegate back. And I don't feel like he felt like he handled that situation with enough aggression. So now it's about, hey, this is how we get back at Draymond and the Warriors. I'm going to put the ball in the hole. He can get hot from three with the best of them. So I'm going over on both those players.
I love it. Liquidate all assets. Guru and Dibs here. What about most made three-pointers in the game? E-Dog, our great producer E, has come through and thank you. Put a lot of these. Yeah, you got to have that. Put a lot of these in there. Steph Curry, the obvious favorite at plus 140 on most three-pointers made just in the game, but maybe some value elsewhere. Jason Tatum, 4-1. Klay Thompson, 6-1. Jaylen Brown, 7-1. Do you think that the chef is going to have the most threes here in this game?
I don't. I just figured, Chef, I hope if you're listening, I ain't jinxing you, but I just saw him shooting it come out. I'm predicting Klay Thompson having a big game. Dibs, I'm going with Klay with the most threes.
Wow, that would be big. That would be a big time performance from Klay Thompson, which would lead us to think about the over in that as well. NBA futures, Goo, the NBA Finals MVP odds have been updated.
All right.
Steph Curry, even money, plus 100. Wow. Jason Tatum is plus 115. Nobody else up on the board is even close.
Now wow, I don't know. I can't wait to get your thoughts on this. I'll say this. I'm going with Steph with even money. But then again, the Warriors not named Steph, and Steph got to take care of business to win to get the trophy. But that's not necessarily true. But when was the last time we saw a losing player get the trophy? If LeBron didn't get it in 17 and 15, it'll never happen to me. But with that, I just don't see Tatum being able to be consistent throughout the rest of the series. I think this is Steph Curry's trophy to lose.
The answer, by the way, is Jerry West, the only
great call.
The only losing player to ever win the MVP award. The logo did it one of the years where they lost to Boston. I look at Jaylen Brown at plus 900, 9-1. And if Boston wins this series and, Jason Tatum continues to be good, but not extraordinary. If Jaylen Brown comes out tonight and goes on one, then he might be a good price at 9-1 to steal the MVP award.
You know what's so interesting is when I went back and watched the game, I thought Jaylen Brown was on lock. You watch that, and I know Dre started on him. Dibs, that first half, he had a good 14 or 15 points. He has the opportunity to take his profile up a notch or two. And I felt like they were equal, or do you break them up? And then Tatum kind of against Brooklyn went up a little more than Brown. Brown has a great opportunity if he brings his home, Dibs, to not only be a household name, but also staring or holding that finals MVP trophy if Boston was somehow to win.
No doubt. I think that, if you're looking for prices anyway at 9-1.
Wow.
That's at least something you would look at. And you'd want to get there early because if Jaylen Brown goes off tonight and Tatum is mediocre, that 9-1 will go way down with a Boston victory. Liquidate all assets with Guru And Dibs here, brought to you by Livermore Casino. What about the series score, Goo? What will the exact series score be? We have odds on all 6 results. It'll be Warriors in 5, Boston in 5, Warriors in 6, Boston in 6, Warriors in 7, Boston in 7. What do you think the final result will be?
Well, to be honest, my prediction for the station, which is on paper or on the net, as they say, the web, is Warriors in 7. What would that get me?
Plus 275. That's actually,
oh man,
that's the favorite right now. The second choice is Boston in 6.
That's my second one.
Plus 325. Yeah.
Wow. That's interesting. What are yours?
Well, I was Warriors in 5. That was my initial,
which is still on the table.
Yeah, but it's the longest shot on the board. It's plus 750. Wow. And the Warriors obviously would need to win tonight and also win Friday and then close it out on Monday in order for that to be paid off. But if I had to make a pick right now, it would be Warriors in 7, just like you.
Yeah, and our guy Josh Hammer chimed in saying, take the under on Brown with GP2 guarding him. I mean, Dibs, life is incredible. It is what you make it. I tell my kids, you are the star of your own movie. Go out and get it. And what is it? You define what it is. My point is, Gary Payton couldn't keep a job with an NBA team, and now I watch him play defense. I watch him hit the corner threes. I'm like, just his moxie. Like, where was this early on? And that goes back to life is about moments and timing. How can anybody not look at GP2 and not want him on their team?
Yeah, and also determination. You talked about, because not only for this series and this playoffs, but you mentioned it for his entire career, based on the fact that he can't find a starting gig, he couldn't find a gig at all. He bounces around, and then you latch on with the Warriors, you finally get a chance, and then only to get hurt by a cheap shot artist, Dylan Brooks. But to work, to stay fresh, to stay engaged, and come back in game 2 and have such a big impact, you got to love GP2.
No doubt. And I'm rooting for him. And, I don't know. I was saying this, Iggy may not be back, but I'll tell you, I feel like, he's a little shorter, but he's the new Iggy with what he provides for the Warriors.
Yeah, he can shoot it a little bit too. And I wonder how Steve Kerr will balance out Peyton the second and Iguodala, if Iguodala is in fact able to go.
Yeah, and before we get out of here, Dibs, you let me know when that is. I got a bit of a gripe I'd like to share with you because –
Please, we got a couple more minutes.
All right, you and the great Willard, I love your show. I'm a P1. You guys had Eddie Johnson, the former Sun player on. I love Eddie. I love him on Twitter. I learn a lot from him. But I don't know if you heard this, but it's bothering me now that people are saying Phoenix was dealing with COVID, and maybe that had something to do with their outcome or shortcomings against Dallas. If that's true, I'm not mad at mankind, but I said something, I believe that might have been our own Spadoni, about what if Curry got COVID after Kerr got it? And they're like, that test would never happen. And now I'm thinking, did he mean that by that test would never be administered? I mean, what are we doing for that to get out? Because I think the Suns or the players leaked that out to kind of, we didn't choke, and that's why I just can't process it. But Dibs, are we in a world where you think the NBA with these stakes wouldn't test? And remember, Luka was sick game 1 against against the Golden State.
Yeah, I think that's there's a lot there, but I think you're right. That test would not be administered, and wow. I would imagine on both sides of the aisle, maybe the NBA quietly told teams, hey, let's go ahead and, not test anybody over the course of these finals. They don't want to have anybody go down either way. If somebody gets sick, that's a different story. And, if somebody,
like Steve Kerr.
Right. And that was obviously a couple rounds back. That was against Dallas in the early going. So, but now we're in the NBA finals, and this is where, you would hate to see anybody on either side come down with it. But honestly, you can't use excuses for anything. And Eddie Johnson actually said this. It's a marathon. It's not a sprint. And, if you're left standing at the end, that means you're able to navigate excuse me, all of the hurdles throughout the course of the year.
Oh, that's great. Well said, and I'm glad I asked you.
Yeah, no problem, Goo. Hey, enjoy the game tonight,
Okay.
and look forward to talking to you tomorrow on the air.
I'm going to give you a prediction. Warriors 111, Boston 114.
So Boston wins.
Yeah.
But you picked the Warriors.
Yeah, but my heart the blood went through it, and I said, we'll talk about this in crosstalk, but
You're damn right we will.
Something just changed.
I love it.
Okay, I'll see you tomorrow, buddy. Okay.